My name is Rainer Gutierrez, and I'm doing a speech on should federal minimum wage be increased? This is my audience. They're watching me. And then this is my note card, along with the cited work, just in case I forget, like a silly guy. All right. Should the federal minimum wage be increased? You feel like you're not getting paid enough at minimum wage? Well, it might be better if it stayed that way. Minimum wage shouldn't get increased because it will increase necessities, make things for living cost way much higher than they should be, and especially in some certain states. California minimum wage is about $12. Nevada, it's $8.25. It's different varying per states. There are multiple economic consequences to increasing the federal minimum wage. Negative impacts small business owners. Could happen to a local Walmart. Most likely, half of the staff will be let go just to keep things in flow and even. Already, this starts being a problem towards some people working in minimum wage jobs. Starting off, everyone would like to have some more money. Of course, anyone, everyone. It makes living easier, better, simpler. People who start off at minimum wage often struggle with living themselves to lack of money. Being made for some insight, the federal minimum wage was introduced in 1938. This was during the Great Depression under Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who at the time, of course, was President of the United States. However, recently people have been wanting an increase in minimum wage and not certainly taking the effects that could potentially harm people. I'll be listing two sides that prove my argument: the pros of minimum wage staying the same and the cons of minimum wage increasing. Raising the wage, this is going to reduce labor demand and making more people unemployed. According to Paul Krugman, in the year 2020, 72% of the US-based economists oppose a federal minimum wage of $15 per hour. By leaving it where it was, this would save half of minimum jobs, about 52%. Small businesses would not need to cut down on expenses, firing half of the staff, making it easier on themselves. Businesses will keep consumer prices low and keep unemployment rates low. According to the Cato Institute, research shows business would respond to the increased cost by reducing employment, particularly for low-skilled workers. Some businesses may pass the higher costs and consumers. Some businesses may pass the higher costs on some consumers. That was the pros of keeping the minimum wage at the same. Some people also believe that minimum wage should be handled on the state level instead of the federal level. For federal, it's $7.25 for every state. Some, however, have it different, always above $7.25, can't go lower than that. Examples would be California, Washington, D.C., Nevada. A lot of them always have it over $7.25. And some still argue that they should rather have minimum wage be handled on the state level. Because, of course, when you have a state like Oregon and California, of course, California is going to be the higher cost of living with a more population. Moving on, the cons of minimum wage increasing. Raising the federal minimum wage puts a burden on small business owners. Again, consider a business with 7 minimum wage workers. Doubling the wages will cost small business owners an extra $122,000 per year. This quote being from heritage.org. It really doubles because I believe with a $10 minimum wage, you add another $5, that's a 50% increase. That is drastic when you have 5 minimum wage workers. You'd probably have to let 1 or 2 go just to help your small business keep running. Another con is raising the minimum wage would increase poverty, according to George Raisman. When the wage is raised, the professor from Emeritus of Economics at Pepperdine University, and I quote, "The higher the minimum wage is raised, the worse are the effects on poor people. This is because, on the hand, the resulting overall unemployment is greater, while on the other hand, the protection a lower wage provides against competition from higher paid workers is more and more eroded." Raymond, 2014. An increase in minimum wage would hurt businesses or force them to close, according to Tim Wartall, a local Walmart in Oakland. Another example of just a small business, but it's a franchise. This closed down due to increase in minimum wage. It went from $11.50 to $15. This happened because of course, it was handled on the state level and not the federal. Starting the quote, "So the company margin on the store in Oakland falls from 3.2% down to 1.2%, which is going to make a bit of a difference, isn't it? And the stockholders aren't going to get the payout they're all assuming that the company retains to the same of the remnant. The rise in the labor bill is higher than the total payout the investors can expect from the store if the workers are the average margins." This meaning the Walmart had to close down just so they could actually pay their workers. They had to shut it down, and probably some people lost their jobs. People in minimum wage positions working at a McDonald's example, as just in retail or a cashier, they get paid about $8.25 in Nevada. If you raise that just a couple dollars up, $13, let's say you have 5 people working the same job. Why would I need 5 of you if it's almost double, tripling of what I'm already paying you? If anything, you could just be let go, and that would be more simpler on the business. It would save more money. Of course, it helps poverty, and it also worsens it at the same time. Some people who already have the minimum wage jobs will be affected positively, and a couple would be affected negatively. This just happens because it is unfortunate. It's most likely just due to business. In a review, overall, the minimum wage shouldn't be changed. It should be staying the same and should be handled by a state level. But at the same time, federal wage should be left at this as it is. $7.25, of course, the minimum. The minimum wage is said to be the living wage of what you can live off of, but that doesn't cover auto, it doesn't cover rent, it doesn't cover house insurance, it doesn't cover Medicare. When you raise the minimum wage, it helps for some people, but then again, it also raises taxes. It forces the government to raise taxes because they pay less for Medicare or Medicaid. My apologies. Minimum wage should stay the same overall, and the evidence and the facts, it's proven it by far. Of course, there's going to be other things that help prove it why it should be better, but a majority of people get affected. Who needs that much labor when it's so expensive to hire somebody for $15 an hour? Thank you. Like I said, my name was Rainer Gutierrez. And here, I'll show you my audience. They're laughing because I stuttered like once. And here are the notes I used. Sorry about my camera quality. It is terrible.